Thanks for that wonderful introduction. My name is Minister Ron Howell. I am a youth minister at Metropolitan Community Church, a board member of Community Renewal Society, and also several other tax issues. Today, I would like to talk to you about how the budget issues and really how insufficient revenue is really affecting people's lives every day. It is an important thing to decipher between numbers, which the governor is looking at, and people's real lives. So today, I want to give you a little bit of background on why we need more revenue and sufficient revenue to really dig out of the hole that we're in, a state that has been doing the wrong thing for many, many administrations. Now is the time that we have to look at a long-term solution, which is going to be talked about a little bit later, but just to give you a little background. In February of 2015, Governor Rauner came out with his turnaround agenda and announced massive cuts to social programs and services. From there, on July 1st, those cuts went into effect. And even though, people were like, this is gonna last a little while and they're gonna get things done because of course they're paid legislators and they know the state has to run. We're looking at 10 months now and we're going on a second year without a budget. Last year's budget deficit was over $6 billion and we're looking at no end to the impasse in Springfield, and that's why organizations like Community Renewal Society and folks like you are important in this whole cog of society to really tell our legislators and to get behind some type of solution that again will dig us out of a hole that it's really been building up again for many years. It's just not the previous administration, it's not just this administration, but when you take on a job, you take on those responsibilities and the problems that are there and you work for all the people. And we're trying to make sure that that gets done, and new revenue is really the key for that. So in Governor Rauner's so-called turnaround agenda, I know it's laughable. That's what he's calling it. His so-called turnaround agenda, again, is really the fact that he doesn't have enough revenue to go around to solve all the problems. So he'd rather blame, again, previous administrations and CPS and a few other things they're gonna be talking about a little later and say, I'm not willing to do this unless you're willing to do that. Well, again, that's holding the budget and Illinois residents hostage. It's unfair, and again, organizations like Community Renewal Society and the people's vote are the only thing sometimes that can move the needle when it comes down to something as serious as a 10-month budget crisis with both sides really not blinking. And a lot of people getting caught in the middle, a lot of people getting hurt. Some of those people that I'll talk about a little later include our children. Our children, our kids, and their education is really one of the things, because I'm a youth minister, that hits home the most for me. I have young people in college, I have young people in high schools all over the state, not just in the city, who tell me every day, how can this be going on when people are getting their education and they're going and doing the things that people say they should do to better themselves, and the state is not properly funding education and doing their jobs. Not only at the high school level, but at the college level, what they aspire to be and to go to, and continue their education and get good jobs and return back to their communities and do their work. So the thing that I want to leave with you, or the impression I want to leave with you the most, there are core services that the state has a responsibility to fund, and you probably know what they are. Public safety, healthcare, human services, and public education. Let's take public education. CPS, I mentioned that. Have a lot of students in CPS schools, a lot of students in the suburbs. But CPS is a prime example because the governor is saying, accept bankruptcy before I can accept giving you a hand. And he goes back and forth with the mayor, and he's not willing to blink. CPS has enough problems, even since I was a product of graduation, from CPS many, many years ago, to have another problem added as far as state funding. I have students who have done without our resource classes because of this, transportation because of this, And it's just gonna get worse and worse if we go another 10 months or even into another school year. Chicago State University, another problem. 30% of their budget, 30% of their operating budget comes from Springfield. So not having that for nearly a whole year is really problematic. And now they're having to shorten their semester, the spring semester, close up early, and really, students are unsure if their credits are transferable or if they're even gonna have a school to go to come fall semester, which they might have to close their doors by that time. Another example, Western Illinois University laid off 110 staff members just this week, just a few days ago. So again, it touches everyone. It touches all counties, it touches kids, it touches the elderly, it touches the poor, everywhere. And those with special needs are the ones who are usually hit most, because those services, those core services, public safety, healthcare, human services, and education, that's everything. That's everything that we rely on and we depend on, especially if your income level is lower. And again, you depend on these programs to help you along the way. So those are a few examples of insufficient revenue. The fair tax as a solution is a good solution because it allows lower people who have lower incomes to pay lower taxes. Those with higher incomes will pay higher taxes. Now, there's been a lot of talk about redistribution of wealth. Well, I look at it just like the corporations who pay zero taxes and they make billions and billions of dollars. Some of those that you might be familiar with: United Airlines, Xerox Corporation, General Motors, HP. Companies that pay zero taxes while billionaire secretaries pay a higher tax rate than the actual billionaires that they work for. So when we talk about insufficient revenue and we talk about a fair tax solution, fair is the key word. Fair means people pay according to their resources and what they have. And usually, people who have more money at a lower income level are putting more money back into society. So it's just not the so-called job creators. It's also the people who have more money to do more things, buy more goods and services, and to eliminate a whole opportunity of education and delivery of services to a group of people based on their income level is just wrong. It's just wrong. So again, Illinois residents are willing to pay their fair share, but big corporations, large banks, we can name a lot, I'm not gonna go into detail, but we've protested against them as well. Downtown Chicago, where people think, well, that's another world. These are all the people down here who we don't really have to be concerned about, but it affects the city. Look at what's happening in the city of Chicago. Look what's happening maybe in your neighborhoods where you've seen changes to public services, changes to people's level of safety, changes to educational opportunities, again, for those who are less fortunate, changes for all people. You know, eventually it gets to a point where everything is reduced and we're all fighting for the same small piece of pie, but we're just trying to distribute that small pie out to more and more groups, more and more people who need those services. So the fair tax is a very smart way to increase revenue and, again, put more money into a system that doesn't have enough money to even balance a budget for 2 years now. So later you're gonna hear some testimonies, and some testimonies that are more local, some things that you might be able to relate to, maybe some organizations that you might even be familiar with. But I wanna leave you with this. In order to dig ourselves out of this massive, massive deficit, we have to have new revenue. New revenue really shouldn't be the burden, again, of just those who are most vulnerable and those with lower incomes. It should be something that we share as a society, and that means again, paying according to what you're able to pay. And again, those who have low incomes should pay lower wages, and those with higher incomes should pay higher taxes, okay? So again, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and to hopefully move you to understand that, again, this problem is not gonna go away until people like you and organizations like Community Renewal Society push our legislators to do the right thing. Thank you.